Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video from Sowell reacts, and it's titled "The One Question That Destroys Every Dumb Liberal Argument." You guys, I'm excited for this, and without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
One stage thinking. When I was an undergraduate studying economics under Professor Arthur Smithies of Harvard, he asked me in class one day what policy I favored on a particular issue of the times. Since I had strong feelings on that issue, I proceeded to answer him with enthusiasm, explaining what beneficial consequences I expected from the policy I advocated. "And then what will happen?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. However, as I thought about it, it became clear that the situation I described would lead to other economic consequences, which I then began to consider and to spell out. "And what will happen after that?" Professor Smithies asked. As I analyzed how the further economic reactions to the policy would unfold, I began to realize that these reactions would lead to consequences much less desirable than those at the first stage, and I began to waver somewhat. "And then what will happen?" Smithies persisted. By now, I was beginning to see that the economic reverberations of the policy I advocated were likely to be pretty disastrous, and in fact, much worse than the initial situation that it was designed to improve. Simple as this little exercise might seem, it went further than most economic discussions about policies on a wide range of issues. Most thinking stops at stage one. In recent years, former economic advisors to presidents of the United States from both political parties, Herbert Stein and Joseph Stiglitz, have commented publicly on how little thinking ahead about economic consequences went into decisions made at the highest level. This is not to say that there was no thinking ahead about political consequences. Each of the presidents they served, Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton respectively, was so successful politically that he was re-elected by a wider margin than the vote that first put him in office. Short-run thinking is not confined to politicians, but is often also found among the population at large. Nor is this peculiar to the United States or even to Western societies. When the government of Zimbabwe decreed drastic cutbacks in prices to deal with runaway inflation in June 2007, the citizens of Zimbabwe greeted the price cuts with a euphoric and short-lived shopping spree, according to the New York Times. But just 1 month later, the Times reported, Zimbabwe's economy is at a halt. This was spelled out. Bread, sugar, and cornmeal, staples of every Zimbabwean's diet, have vanished. Meat is virtually non-existent, even for members of the middle class who have money to buy it on the black market. Hospital patients are dying for lack of basic medical supplies. That suppliers do not usually supply as much at a lower price as they do at a higher price is not a complicated economic principle, but it does require stopping to think, and especially to think beyond stage one. Price controls are essentially lies about supply and demand. In the case of Zimbabwe, the artificially low prices created the impression of an affordable abundance that was simply not there. As with other lies, political or otherwise, time may be required for the truth to come out, and it may be too late when it does. Moreover, politicians have every incentive to deny the truth when it is an unpalatable truth about something that they have advocated or supported. The biggest myth about labor unions is that unions are for the workers. Unions are for unions, just as corporations are for corporations and politicians are for politicians. Nothing shows the utter cynicism of the unions and the politicians who do their bidding like the so-called Employee Free Choice Act that the Obama administration tried to push through Congress. Workers' free choice as to whether or not to join a union is precisely what that legislation would destroy. Workers already have a free choice in secret ballot elections conducted under existing laws. As more and more workers in the private sector have voted to reject having a union represent them, the union's answer has been to take away secret ballot elections.
Wow, you guys, what are your thoughts on this video? Thomas Sowell is doing such a great job with this narration, and I don't know how he does it, but most of the things Thomas Sowell has said about politics, has said about the economy is so true, and it looks like he sees into the future, because I don't know how he is very accurate. Everything Thomas Sowell has talked about in the past has happened or is about to happen. Well, let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below, and let's continue watching, you guys.
Under the Employee Free Choice Act, unions would not have to win in secret ballot elections in order to represent the workers. Instead, union representatives could simply collect signatures from the workers until they had a majority. Why do we have secret ballots in the first place, whether in elections for unions or elections for government officials? To prevent intimidation and allow people to vote how they want to without fear of retaliation. This is a crucial right that unions want to take away from workers. The actions of union mobs in Wisconsin, Ohio, and elsewhere give us a free home demonstration of how little they respect the rights of those who disagree with them, and how much they rely on harassment and threats to get what they want. It takes world-class chutzpah to call circumventing secret ballots the Employee Free Choice Act. To unions, workers are just the raw material used to create union power, just as iron ore is the raw material used by U.S. Steel and bauxite is the raw material used by the Aluminum Company of America. The most fundamental fact about labor unions is that they do not create any wealth. They are one of a growing number of institutions which specialize in siphoning off wealth created by others, whether those others are businesses or the taxpayers. There are limits to how long unions can siphon off money from businesses without facing serious economic repercussions. The most famous labor union leader, the legendary John L. Lewis, head of the United Mine Workers from 1920 to 1960, secured rising wages and job benefits for the coal miners, far beyond what they could have gotten out of a free market based on supply and demand. But there is no free lunch. An economist at the University of Chicago called John L. Lewis the world's greatest oil salesman. His strikes that interrupted the supply of coal, as well as the resulting wage increases that raised its price, caused many individuals and businesses to switch from using coal to using oil, leading to reduced employment of coal miners. The higher wage rates also led coal companies to replace many miners with machines. The net result was a huge decline in employment in the coal mining industry, leaving many mining towns virtually ghost towns by the 1960s. There is no free lunch. Similar things happened in the unionized steel industry and in the unionized automobile industry. At one time, U.S. Steel was the largest steel producer in the world and General Motors the largest automobile manufacturer. No more. Their unions were riding high in their heyday, but they too discovered that there is no free lunch, as their members lost jobs by the hundreds of thousands. Workers have also learned that there is no free lunch, which is why they have, over the years, increasingly voted against being represented by unions in secret ballot elections. One set of workers, however, remained largely immune to such repercussions. These are government workers, represented by public sector unions. While oil could replace coal, while U.S. Steel dropped from number 1 in the world to number 10, and Toyota could replace General Motors as the world's leading producer of cars, government is a monopoly. Nobody is likely to replace the federal or state bureaucracies, no matter how much money the unions drain from the taxpayers. That is why government unions continue to thrive, while private sector unions decline. Taxpayers provide their free lunch.
Much confusion comes from judging economic policies by the goals they proclaim rather than the incentives they create. And I have to admit, it takes critical thinking beyond stage 1 to actually look beyond the goals and see the incentives being created. You let me know what you think about this in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell if you're new to the channel. Thank you for watching, and until the next video, stay free.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Thomas Sowell. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. And I really had fun with this particular one. And I believe you guys also enjoyed watching. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.